you need to forgive yourself first before you can move on to saying that these people actually hurt me.
Yeah.
And these people, because of these people, I lost a chunk of myself. I lost a chunk of my childhood. I lost a chunk of my adulthood. I lost many opportunities to do this or do that. You need to forgive yourself for those lost opportunities. You need to forgive yourself for those lost times. And in the space and time that you are in now, how do you go forward to heal?
Affinity Extra, be extra.
Get all the edgy music on now. Get everyone going, oh no, what's he going to talk about today? Oh no, are we going to talk about exterminate the brutes? Are we going to talk about, you know what I'm saying, white supremacy? Are we going to talk about something crazy? But what we are going to talk about, we're going to talk about, before I bring in my guest, just going to give you a little round up what we try to talk about. We try to talk about what you think we talk about, because nobody else wants to talk about it. So what did Roger do? Talk about it, because no one's going to sack him. So I said, you know what? No one's going to sack me. I'm unsackable, because only God can sack me, because he's the only person above me right now. Not because I'm high, it's just because nobody else wants to do this thing anyway. So yeah, but anyway, because nobody else decided to do this, and because I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Now, I do care actually about what people think about me. I just really care about, you know, the damage that we've caused because we don't have the conversation. Yeah, so let me just unmute this, set this all up anyway. So, but this week, we had I'm part of a project, a project that supports young carers. Now, we had a meeting this week, which was enlightening. Got a group of people out there. Was really enlightening, and this is Carers Week, and I've got my guest Angela. Now, the funny thing is, I invited Angela to the meeting. Now, you know, when we have to say it's God. I'm not a person who says I blame everything on God, you know, because we're good at blaming everything on God. But you know what I'm saying? But we have to show us I have to blame God for this one. So I invited Angela to this one, and I'll be honest with you, Angela touched my shoulders and said, Roger, you know, I used to care for my dad. I said, what? And it all started her journey, and I thought, you know what? I said to her, it's Carers Week next week, yeah? She's busy next week, but you know what? Let's do it beforehand so we can push it out there throughout the week, because we want to really look at the details and the damage it caused in terms of caring and what caring really is, and from a black community's perspective, the damage caring has done in our community because of the expectation and the lack of support we give the carers, the expectation, how we package it. We don't call it carers, we call it it's your mother, it's your tada, deal with it, you know what I'm saying, you know, and we're going, but what about me? It's not about you. Them look after you, they're cleaning your nappy, they're bringing you into this earth, you take care of them, and it's like, but we'll get there anyway still, yeah. But I'm going to bounce some ideas with Angela. But just going to quickly introduce Angela into this, and just to give us an idea about that meeting and what you heard about that meeting, the support that's there for carers in the UK. How did you feel about the meeting itself, and looking at how they're trying to support carers?
Okay. So thanks again for having me, Roger. I told everybody there that you managed to drag me onto all your radio shows. So. You're making me a mini star, Brummy. I like that. But yeah, thanks for having me again.
Always.
Roger actually invited me there to help me to recruit participants for my PhD research. And it turned out to be even more useful for me as well, because I sat there, I realized that all the things they had talked about, coming from Ghana, where there's not, you know, anything like forward carers, there's not an association or a group or anything that actually recognizes that you're a carer, because as you said, it's a cultural thing that we're supposed to look after our parents, we're supposed to look after our siblings, you know, and you don't really think about the emotional weight of it on the person who's caring. Yeah. So for me, it was very encouraging that this kind of work was being done within the community, and that people had a place to go to, a support group, that young people who are just beginning to figure out their lives could come and sit somewhere and be given advice on what to do and where to reach out to when that kind of information was not readily available. So And for me, coming from Ghana, it was a very different perspective for me, and it's definitely something I look forward to doing one day, putting together these kinds of groups. Yeah.
No,
So,
no,
thanks for inviting me.
no problem. And I have to salute the Ford Cares project, because they're actively looking at integrating caring and support in terms of in the community. Now, the joke is, guys, I never see myself as a carer. I just care for, I care at work, care, but not in the carer in the aspect how they brought it to life. I'll give you insight of how I was a carer. When I was younger, my mum was training to be a nurse, my dad was working some crazy hours, and what I had to do is straight after senior school, I'm the oldest out of four of us. At the age of, I was in year 2, which will be year 8 now. I would run down to pick my little sister from my 2 sisters from the babysitters, and then I will take them my sisters home, meet with brother at the house, and basically I will cook dinner. You know what I'm saying? Set things up, settle them down, and whatever they're still, you cook the dinner, whatever. Then mum will come through, and I did that for about a good year. You know what I'm saying? A good while. You know what I'm saying? And I just, it's the oldest person's job. You just do what you got to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I didn't really realize, and I must admit, my parents weren't like very slave drivery with it, as much as I felt kind of oppressive about you know what I mean. I have to wash the dishes, man. I have to do this. I have to do everything. But I never really look back at it in a negative sense. But I flip it round when I look at some of my elder peers. And I hear stories of them coming from Jamaica, being made babysitters straight away. You know what I'm saying? It's something we got to expand on, and the bitterness and the angriness between people who've been forced to be carers. When they get left in the Caribbean, looking after younger siblings. I've had that in my family, in my dad's side of the family. My auntie Madge, the call her sister Madge. She did an amazing job. She was very young, and she had to literally give up her formative years at school to take care of her younger siblings, because my great grandma, she fell very, very sick when my grandparents came over here. So there's so much, but the thing is, people look at the short term, but the reality show is the long term damage of this, education wise, mental health wise, was kind of like, wow, okay, we really are kind of, in our communities, we take care of our people, but really, what do we do to support? There's another scenario where I know people have been said, right, you're in the house, you gotta take care of mom and dad, and then the other siblings just go about their business, and they leave the one sibling to take care of, to do all the burden, and there's so many scenarios like that, and I'm thinking, wow, the people just need some support, man. But bounce off that, sis, me just giving a bit of scenarios, can you give us a bit of information about your situation which you found yourself in as a carer?
So in 2015, I think it was, my father was diagnosed with motor neuron disease. And motor neuron is a muscle and nervous system neurodegenerative disease. So basically, your muscles start to waste. There's no cure. So ALS, everybody knows that's ALS, what Steve Hawkins had. That's the easiest way I can explain. But it comes in different forms, and it's terminal. Okay. If you know, Steve Hawkins had to be living on so much support and so much machines to be able to talk, to have a conversation. Thankfully, technology has made it possible for all of that to happen. But in my dad's case, my dad had a wasting of facial muscles. So him being a preacher for over almost 40 years of his life, suddenly he couldn't walk anymore. And it was hard. I mean, the first time we had it, we had one opinion. We weren't sure about it. We went to the US, tried to get a second opinion, came back to Ghana because we just didn't want to believe it, And I remember being in my third year, going into my final year of uni. I have older siblings. I'm the last but one child. So, most of my siblings are old and married. And it was just like me and my brother who were sort of still early 20s, sort of. It was difficult for all of us. Suddenly my father, he was active. He was still going about his business, still going about his work. But this man that made a living talking could not talk anymore. and it was really, really hard for him. And I can't say I cared for my father alone, because all of us put in effort.
Okay, good.
And one of my siblings were there to support, but I think I was with my dad a lot more, because during that time I was doing my national service. So after uni, you have 1 year off where you sort of serve the country, and my job wasn't that demanding, so I had to go everywhere with my daddy as much as possible, because he could not talk.
Okay.
And so I sort of had to be his mouthpiece. He used to make a joke about the fact that I was the only one who could understand his language.
Wow.
But it was funny, because when he started to notice that there was something wrong with him, it was my name that he couldn't mention properly first. And yeah, so it was very interesting. It's like, I can't say Angela properly. I don't know why. And that's when he started to pick up on the signs. So, I mean, it was a difficult 2 years. He passed in 2017.
Oh.
It was really hard, because he loved my father. My father was like,
yeah, you always talk about
5,000
that.
yards of husband material. You know, my father he was a good father. He was a good husband. He treated like my mother like a queen. He set amazing standards for us. And above all, my father loved God. Everybody who knew my father thought he was called Paul. His middle name was Philip, but for some reason he thought he was called Paul. That's how radical he was with his Christianity. Very honest man, straight to the point, points out things that are not working in the church. You could get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
But, you know, very, very radical man. So, I mean, I can't say that my father, he was taken too early, but we all know that my dad did his work on earth, and he's in a better place, and God was happy to have him. So we'll fault God for that. I told God I forgave him a while ago for doing it.
Yeah, wow.
But I mean, having to be in that role, you know, suddenly see your strong, active father, you know, have to deal with this kind of illness, the mental struggles, you know, the physical struggles, and you just sitting there watching him eat was difficult. And you never really see how much that impacts you until later. So for me, thankfully, I have a family that talks about everything, you know. So after my father died, you'd find that we would all call each other and have conversations about how it felt and how difficult it was, and some of the situations that maybe happened when either one of us was there, or something he said, and how we felt about it. So we always spoke about it. So at least that supported our mental health.
Yeah.
A lot. We had that internal support, you know.
Good.
But I can't say that we had it from anywhere else, because nobody else quite understood. And after now, you can't effectively explain to people how you felt, because really, until you are in that position, you don't know what to do. You don't know how it feels, and you don't wish it on anybody anyway. It's a very difficult thing. So, I mean, if you are a young person in your teens and your early 20s, and you have to deal with that on your own, I cannot begin to imagine the kind of help or support that you will need to be able to get through that really difficult phase, because it takes a lot out of you. I mean, being aware that you are slowly losing somebody that you have a serious attachment to, while also trying to give them the best quality of life. It's hard. It's really difficult. But I mean, it's affected a lot of my decisions in life now. I remember that when it was finally time to do my master's, I decided that is what I wanted to write my master's thesis on.
Wow.
So I did a placement in a ward with motor neuron disease patients. It was hard, but I wrote my thesis on mental health support.
Wow.
For people who cared for people who had terminal diseases, either Parkinson's disease or motor neuron disease, and how they could be supported. I mean, I was supposed to publish that a long time ago, but I never got around to it. I'm still working on it. But yes, it's definitely something I'm passionate about.
Okay, no, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. That's just that is one of the moments where you're like, you know, I think, you know, when we have testimony service in church, and people take it for granted, but what people don't realize is that we can learn from each other, you know what I mean, and what shape, and like I said, you know, your journey is that it's to make life better for the next person after you, and to study it and to look at how we cope and deal with things. And I think that we're in a season right now where mental health is a real major thing we've neglected over the years. We have covered it up. There's a lot of sins gone in the background, not because people are bad people, it's because of bad mental health, and it's gone in the church now. With your with dad's scenario, because of the support now, just imagine a scenario if you was left alone taking care of your dad. Do you feel that that could have been quite very, that you would, what type of person would you feel you reckon you'd be now?
Utterly broken. Okay. I don't think we could have done this alone ever. I mean, there's so many of us, and it still wasn't enough. There's 6 kids. That's my mother.
Yeah.
And it still didn't feel like it was enough. Because it's difficult. I mean, it's always difficult to have to suddenly see somebody that was active and strong and walked about. And I mean, my father could still do a lot. The day he died, he actually drove up from the mountain and then came home and died. So yeah, he could do it, but I mean, to lose his basic function of speech, that we take for granted, lose the ability to eat, that we take for granted, a lot of things that we never imagined seeing my father, have to. Then also he was 58 when he died. So I mean, he was almost 58. Yeah, he would have been 63 this year. So yeah, he was almost 58. He was actually 58 about to turn 68. Sorry, my math is dead.
Wow.
But yeah, so to see, I mean, somebody in that state, I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. You can be the strongest person on earth. It will break you.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I mean, we need to be able to acknowledge that it's a difficult thing. It's a difficult thing to see a loved one go through that.
No, 100%. No, it's 100%. And I encourage brothers and sisters out there who are listening to this as well, is to don't leave it to one sibling to take care of your parents. I really appreciate that sometimes you don't have everybody in the same city. I appreciate the fact that you have people living with the parents and some don't live with the parents. But respite is a day off for the person who's taking care of the parents is absolutely crucial. It's important that we as a people kind of really appreciate really get an understanding that when something happens, and something that's said this year, we don't plan for death or we don't plan for sickness in the family. We don't think if something goes wrong, guys, what we're going to do. We don't have that frank conversation with our siblings, with our husbands or wives or people close to us, the next of kin, and whatsoever the power of attorney is to set these things up. Some of the things that we don't want to deal with, but the reality show is, Roger, you need to deal with it. Scary, absolutely scary. How do we prepare for that? But from doing a study with the with the group that you was with, in terms of Mountaineer and the support and the carers around it, what were some of the things that you flagged up that you would say to noted for us to not put the people into that situation of? Was there any bad practices you can say, listen guys, don't do this, don't do that, you know what I'm saying? You gotta, always is there no real hard fast rule?
I think that working within that team, because he was here in the UK and Wales, predominantly white population.
Okay.
I think that because of the differences in culture, we sort of try to plow through while other people will seek help or make use of the services that are available.
Right.
I found that a very interesting thing for them was, for almost everybody that I worked with, they sort of knew that their time was coming. So they made the best of that end of life, thing. Everybody was going on holidays, even if it meant that, they were going to be wheelchair bound the whole of the holiday. They wanted to go, and it was like, you only live once, let's mark all the things off your bucket list.
Yeah, man.
And sort of they were aware of what was coming. And death is always a hard thing to face, especially if you're a Christian. We start believing so much for my dad to be healed. So you are in this constant denial of the terminal illness. Of course, God can heal them, but in the event of that not happening, or God healing them in His own special way, which I believe happened, and lessening their pain and just, bringing them home. What kind of preparation are you going to be making? Are you willing to face that really difficult, heavy conversation of where would you like to go? What would you like us to do for you? What kind of conversations would you like to have? Do you want to write a letter to somebody? Do you want to do this for having those very difficult end of life conversations that we don't want to have. I saw that the clients that I worked with, and of course it was different races, it was really multicultural, but what I realized was that these people were planning holidays. They were ready to go to France and see the places they had not seen before, and put all of those things in place just so that when I can't move anymore and I can't get out of my bed anymore, I don't have any regrets.
Okay. It's almost a case of crazy, and probably black people are probably focusing when we get to heaven, and heaven will be sweet. And just to bring things in context as well. You was in Ghana when you was taking care of your dad, isn't it? Yeah. Cool. No. So for me, it's like that's you just tick back in my head. I'm thinking, Lord, what will happen to me, man? Would I have to go to Old Trafford before, watch a football game at Old Trafford? Get to meet Beckham. But now, that's a real valid point, and I think that taking care of people, as a young child as well. Children don't have a voice. There's a lot. I know that there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of conversations that when we touched base about the carers, there's a lot of adults angry because they had to take care of the parents when they were 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, that age group, and they felt like they had no life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know people to take care of the parents for 20 years. You know what I'm saying? From the teenage years right up to their 30s, and miss out on the whole life, and they're bitter as heck. Like, you know what I'm saying? And what you're saying is ultimately within our community, we're just not reaching out for support.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, it's just really, really, really a really sad situation, you know what I mean, where we guys have. But we're here as a respite. I'm here at Groves and World Studio, where we're looking at working with young people who are in a caring role, and to get them out of there and to be creative. And I think that when you come out of there, there's two types of escapism. There's productive escapism and unproductive escapism. And the unproductive type is drink, smoke weed, eat too many cakes like I do. You know what I mean? And then productive stuff is play a sport, creatives like even do music, just something to be creatively just take yourself out of the place, express the feelings that you have within inside. And do you feel that this is a case where we need to also as well find a support person who is I would call a shrink, but you would call what do you call them now professionally, counselor? Or
yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I think it's really important to have somebody to offload off. Who is the carer's carer? Should be asking that question. And we constantly ask, who is the therapist? So who is the carer's carer? Who is that one person that you can go to have a conversation about this difficult period that you are in, that won't sort of just say, oh, I know what you're feeling, and then end up going on a tangent about themselves. But somebody who would just listen from an unbiased perspective and give you the kind of encouragement that you need, give you the kind of support that you need, tell you this is the kind of help that is available, this is where you can go, this is who you can speak to, would you like us to do this for you one day or do that? I mean, being able to find that support system, because you can't do this thing alone. It's hard. It's hard enough taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And then having to take care of somebody else who is suffering, living with a mental illness or physical disability or, a chronic illness or whatever it is hard enough. So it's always really important that we seek support. And I know that we talk a lot about resilience within our community and the fact that we're resilient people and we're strong people and we plow through things. But sometimes, that resilience conversation isn't always great. And we need to admit that we need help. And I can't blame people for not wanting to seek help because of the stigma attached to caring. And, there's like, even when you hear somebody's a carer, you suddenly think, oh, they're doing some menial job. It's just so stigmatized.
Okay, yeah.
And people do not begin to realize how much effort and work goes into having to take care of another person, having to meet their basic needs, and still, having to still love and care for them and still live your life or try to live your life doing all of that. So it's difficult. And people say it's going to be rewarding work and then you're not going to have regrets. But as you said, people come out and have all of these regrets and have all of this bitterness because of the place where they were at. And you can't blame anybody, but if there is help available, it's important to seek it so that you know that you're not alone.
Yeah, man. Yeah, 100% is, and it's carer. That's important. Now, I've sneakily over the years, I have had carers for myself, but I haven't had a professional carer because I'm scared of the system. So what I've done is had big sister and the big brother who are offload on. Yeah, that are mature people. Is that a wise thing to do? A selected, almost like, or would you say just be careful of that carer that you select if you're gonna do that situation?
I think if you have, of course, the big brothers and the big sister that you feel you kind of load off on, that's still important because also people are still trying to get comfortable with who they are talking to about what. And as you know, our culture is very closed up and we're very collectivist and would rather talk to people who are our own than, sort of take the family business elsewhere. If there's a professional person that you can talk to that offers services, for having to do with this things like a support group, like I remember during the session, the Forward Carers group talked about support groups. If there's that kind of one-to-one or group conversations that you can have, by all means, do not neglect to be involved in it. But if you do not have that immediate resource of, or you be stuck on a waiting list for a long time, make use of the people that are around you. But also be conscious about their boundaries because we have to be aware that people also have things to deal with and people are also going through stuff. And offload when you feel like, okay, they're in a capacity to take what you have to offload to them. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, no, 100%. But support is so necessary. It's really, really important to always have somebody to talk to,
No, 100%. No, it's good. It's good to talk, as it says, and that's the and I would encourage people in our community. I think this is a time, guys, that we need to raise up and actually create internal support systems. And it's important. And I will challenge the church. I challenge good people. I think we spent so much time taking care of ourselves and taking care of our careers. And that's my. And there's some great work that people are doing within Christendom. But if you look at the early church, it was a very selfless calling. And I felt, and it wasn't just one or two people at the village. It was everybody in the community was trying to be selfless. So I feel like the numbers are very low. In the church, and we're not compelled to care. We're not compelled to care as we should do. And it really is a really scary scenario, but it's the lack of support that we do have for carers when we have such an integral, caring object called Christianity in the mix. But we're here to learn, and we're here to live and learn, and we're here, and this is why it's important for Christians to be in the system like yourself, but at the same time be open to communicate to people through formats like this about the other perspective when it comes to caring and being real about the situation of taking care of parents going in the future, to have conversations with your brothers and sisters about taking care of our parents. There's some scenarios that I may have to be taken care of. I've had two friends who are younger than me who have both died from colon cancer and needed time to be taken care of. It's just you gotta think about, I may need taken care of, so it's scary. Who's gonna take care of me? Everyone says, but your wife, but my wife is also not 100%. She's got kidney disease. So when you're looking at my two boys, but I want them to do the. There's so much dynamics to this, yeah. And it's important for us to be there for each other to really reassemble this community, on what's which is out there. But sis, on the last few notes, you're saying to really people to check out carers. If we've been damaged, let's be real, from caring, because it's okay we're trying to be proactive here by doing things from the projects I'll be doing. So big guys, watch out what I'll be doing. Check me out, Roger Moore. I think it's 007 or Roger Moore UK, whichever one it is. Anyway, still online or whatever. You'll find me out there. Do find out, because I'm going to be putting out what projects I'll be doing and whatever. There's so you to support young carers right now. But the reality show is, I'm looking at the damage that is caused by care, by 20, 30 years ago. Caring, how do we deal with that, sis? Damage that people don't even talk to their mom and dad anymore. You know what I'm saying? That they have bitterness towards their siblings. The communications are broken down. What ways can we, and I know that things have gone on too long, it's almost a spiritual question here, but it does create damage in yourself when you've secluded yourself from a very important support network, which is your family. When you cut that off, because of being done bad over 20 years ago, you're always you're not running at maximum. So how, you know what I'm saying, what almost, when I say medical, what advice would you give somebody who came from that perspective? Because that's one thing we're bumping into. Yes, we're looking at young carers, but there's a lot of battered former young carers that are 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, taking care of people that should not have been taken care of. Or is it just damage?
when I every time I have to have a conversation about damage or trauma or any form of negative emotions that we ascribe to ourselves or to the people around us, I start by asking if you can forgive yourself. Self-forgiveness is something we are not taught to do and we don't know how to do. So a lot of the time we walk around with the guilt and the anger and the frustration that has been piled on us over years. Okay. And before you can effectively forgive anybody, we're constantly being told to forgive this person for putting you in this position in your life, forgive that person for doing that. But we also unconsciously carry this guilt of putting ourselves in that position. And that's something that people don't want to talk about. Fine, if you had to care for somebody at a young age, it was not your choice necessarily, and it was not your fault that you had to be in that position. But during that period, people carry the resentment that they felt from then till later, because they have not been able to forgive themselves for not being their fault to have been in that role. So, we end up blaming ourselves for if I had maybe gone away, or if I had made this life choice decision, or if I had made this decision, if I had done this, if I had gotten married to this person, if I had traveled to this place or gone to this school or done that, I wouldn't be stuck in this place. But if you don't learn how to forgive yourself, you're constantly going to be stuck in that what if I had, what if. You're going to constantly be stuck in that what if zone where you can't detach yourself from the fact that I sort of allowed myself or carried on this resentment all the way from that time until now. And I've not been able to forgive myself for for carrying that resentment and for carrying over that guilt and for carrying over all of this responsibility and carrying it over 20 years and 30 years. When you are able to forgive yourself, you're able to see things through a clearer lens and say that it wasn't this person's fault that they had to fall sick or I had to care for them during this period of time. These people did not support me, and even though I wish they had given me this much support or they had done all of this, it didn't happen. I'm still carrying this resentment towards them all these years. While they have walked away and lived their lives, or they have died and they have left me behind. But you need to forgive yourself first before you can move on to saying that these people actually hurt me. And these people, because of these people, I lost a chunk of myself. I lost a chunk of my childhood. I lost a chunk of my adulthood. I lost many opportunities to do this or do that. You need to forgive yourself for those lost opportunities. You need to forgive yourself for those lost times. And in the space and time that you are in now, how do you go forward to heal? Okay. Sometimes healing can be in the form of supporting other people that are in these same similar roles. That did not get the kind of support that you got. Anyway, I mean, in that space and time. As for healing with families and all the brokenness that goes on, but only God can truly bring that healing. But first, for me, it's important, most of all, that we need to forgive ourselves for all the guilt and resentment that we carry over so many years that we can never let go of. Because until you're able to forgive yourself and give yourself that clean slate that in fact Jesus has already given you, you can't look beyond anybody else's wrong.
Brilliant. That's beautiful, and its importance is that is a beautiful way, guys. As even just to end this, and I just encourage people to forgive. And to be honest, guys, I always say to my children when they just say, "But you're so did this so," I said, "What could you do different? Deal with you. That's the only thing you can control. It's okay for us to talk about everything that's around us, but what you control, do that." And that's where the change begins there. You know what I'm saying? And it's easy to say, but so-and-so hit me. But what can you do different? You know what I'm saying? I'm not justifying what happened to you. But the problem is, you know what I'm saying? You'll put yourself back in that situation if you focus on that person hitting you and everybody else beating you up and whatever. So what can you do to come out, to move forward, to change, to be better? And guys, forgiveness is such an easy word to say. It is an easy word to say, especially when the people don't even realize they keep hitting you, they keep hitting you, they keep hitting you, they keep hitting you, and they keep hitting you, and you're going, God, I forgive them. They keep hitting you, God, why am I forgiving you? And hit them, hit you again, and you're going, Lord, why am I forgiving if I don't even see what they've done wrong to me? You know what I'm saying? And I say that from experience. You know what I'm saying? Absolute experience. It is hard to forgive. It's so hard, you know what I'm saying? So I know Angela said it in such a beautiful way, forgiveness, but we both know, myself and Angela, that it's one of the hardest things to do.
It's difficult. I'm just thinking about the word forgiveness, and I remember that after, we had to go through all of that, and my father eventually passed. It took 2 years for me to eventually sit in front of God one day and say, you know what, I forgive you. And I know he laughed. God laughed. And it felt like a funny thing, But you see, when it says in Isaiah, come, let's reason together, I think this is the kind of relationship God wants us to have with him. That even though we know that we can't forgive him because he can't wrong us, we must be able to have these conversations with him in our anger and our frustration and say, Job had these conversations with him. Look, David had these conversations with him. And God didn't throw them into the lake of fire. We are constantly scared to be this honest and truthful and raw before God. I remember sitting in my room in Swansea and telling God that, I forgive you for taking my father. And I know he laughed and he said thank you. And I have that kind of relationship with him. He said thank you, and I was like, what are you thanking me for? Forgiving me and for forgiving me. And I was like, okay, but it made so much of a difference just sitting down and having that conversation with God and saying that I feel like you set me up, or you set us up for all of this to happen, and you were there and you didn't help us, because so much of our resentment also is held towards God. For feeling like he put us in that situation, especially if we are Christians. listen, having those honest and raw conversations with him, he wants to have them with you. And it's so important.
Yes.
It's so important. When he says, come, let's reason together, as though your sins may have been as red as scarlet, I'll make them as white as snow. He wants to reason together with you on a lot of things. Have a lot of conversations with you. Be that open with God, What do you need to reason with him about? What do you want to have a conversation with him about? What do you want to be mad at him about? He took away a chunk of my yes and I'm not happy. But here I am in this space and time. I don't know how much time I have left, but I want to be able to use what time I have left to glorify you as much as I can. And only God can truly bring that healing that you want. Of course, I will not run away from my favorite code. Give it to God, but still talk to your therapist. Because God puts these people in place so you can have these conversations with them and they can facilitate your healing. Okay?
Come on now.
Not less spiritual to go to a therapist. No, it doesn't make you any less spiritual to go and have a conversation with a counselor. It doesn't make you less Christian or less African or less Afro-Caribbean or less cultural having these conversations.
Yep. No, 100%. That's a beautiful way, man. That's a beautiful what you say there, and it's forgiveness, man. It's a word, man. I think I might do the title "Chuck Forgiveness" in his title of this podcast today, man. Forgiveness for the carer. You know what I'm saying? For the care. Anyway, so I'll come up with something, man. But definitely, sis, we do appreciate your time and for jumping on this thing here. And guys, watch your space. Do comment. Do message us, if you're in a caring situation. We want to support people out there. I'm sure we're going to have some think groups here at Grows the World, studios to support people in that situation. But as a Christian, we enjoy this cyberspace area, and there's people that we can actually point you to. So do message us at Affinity Xtra. I'm sure you'll find your way onto Angela Kumah on social media. If you don't, do communicate with us as well, and I'm sure she's out there for a consultation.
Brother's giving me more clients.
This is how we do, man. You know what I'm saying? But we're passionate about having young therapists that are engaging. So, because like you can imagine, if I said to my sons, go and check out the therapist, and they look at this big 58-year-old, they're like, I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? So it's great to have a young person out there, man, just doing this. You know what I mean? And that represents, the brown skin of people. You know what I'm saying? But again, thanks again for being open and honest about your journey of caring and with the bereavement of your dad, and things are just opening up. We can nothing but blame God. You know what I'm saying? This situation is just absolutely God. Hey, I bumped into Angela, not in church. We bumped into her on a total separate project. You know what I mean? And and I just said, Angela, do you mind doing a podcast with me? Yeah. And it's all just gone crazy, man. But enough appreciation, sis, and over now. And guys, do connect to us and do let us know how you feel, and give us more information, and we can even talk about it here on the show as well. Yeah. So thanks again, Angela, and thanks again for your time. So you take care, sister. God bless you, man. Yeah. Bless you, man.
Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bless you. Bye.
Visit us for updates and shows at affinityextra.co.uk.